So once you have your digital signage player plugged in and connected to the internet, the next step is you're going to start to add content to that player so that it runs on your digital sign. And so you're going to start by going to tools.screenengage.com, and that's going to take you to the login screen here. You'll have been given a username and password to access the tool. Enter that information here and click Login. That's going to take you to the home page of Command Point. From here, you can access several different things, but the area that we're going to focus on today is the digital signage management tools. Also, if you ever do have any questions about how to use Command Point or perform a task, there'll be a link right here to the Command Point user manual that you can reference at any time for how to complete something within Command Point. But again, for today, we're going to focus on the digital signage management tools by clicking the digital signage link right here. You can also access that at any time from the drop-down in the top left corner by going to digital signage as well. Either way, as soon as you click that, it's going to take you right into the digital signage tools and into your media library. Your very first time that you log in, as we've done here, you're going to see that your media library right now is empty. We're going to walk through the process of how to populate some content into the library, create a basic playlist, assign that playlist to your layout, and then publish the content to your screen so that it starts running on your digital sign. So the first step is, of course, the content itself. And we're just going to take a couple different pictures for this. You can use images, you can use videos, flash files, you can point at websites. There are many different types of content that you can use within the system. We'll talk about that. But for now, I'm just going to take a couple different pictures that I want to rotate on my digital sign. So first step is uploading it. Now, as you saw there, I just simply did a drag and a drop from a folder. Anywhere within the media library is going to start the upload process. We can see that all of those files have now been uploaded, and so I'm going to click the Activate All button right here in the top right corner of this window. If I wanted to add some additional files right now, I could always click the Add Files button. That's going to allow me to browse my desktop, any type of content, or again, I can just simply drag and drop it into the media library. Once those items are activated, I can close the window, and I can now see they're part of my media library here in Command Point. I can click on any one of these images, and I'm going to be able to see a preview of it over here in the preview pane on the right-hand side. And if I want, I can see a larger preview of that by actually clicking on that thumbnail, and I'm going to be able to see a full-size image of the content we're working with here. Again, the same process works for other types of content, such as a H.264 video or a WMV video. Any of those types of formats are supported as well. In addition to content that I can upload, such as an image or a video, I can also point at some other types of media as well, and I can do that right here under the Add button and going to Create Media. For example, let's say I want my website to show up as part of the content on the screen. Well, I can give this a name, choose the type web, and then I can come in here and I can put in the URL for the website I want to show. So for now, we'll do screenengage.com. If I'm going to have this sit on the screen for any sort of extended period of time, I could set up a period of every few minutes or every few seconds that I would want this page to refresh. But for now, we're going to go ahead and just leave it at the default of never, hit Save Changes, and now we've created a new media item that's part of my library here that's linking to that external web content. Now, when I only have a few items like we're looking at here, it's pretty easy to keep that organized. As you start adding more and more content to your library, there are some sorting and foldering features which you may want to use. First of all, this list of items can also be displayed as a list. So if I go ahead and click the list icon here, I can see a little more information about the date that I uploaded this content into the system, how large it is. I still see a small preview over here. And if I click on that item, I'm going to see the larger preview pane on the right-hand side. At any point, I can hide that preview pane if I need a little more space to work with. But for the most part, and by default, that's going to be extended. If I start getting lots of content and I want to start organizing and sorting it a little more, under my All Files section over here on the left, I can see right now we're in my digital signage folder. Well, I can create a new folder. We'll just call this one Test Folder. And here we go. Here's a new way that I can organize content, and I can either directly add content to this folder, again, by a simple drag and a drop and activating that media item. Here's my new item. Or I can drag content from my primary media library into any of those subfolders. So we can go ahead and move that down into my test folder, and now I see I have both of these items in here. Either way works just fine. There's no limit to the number of subfolders that you can create, so you can have multiple levels. You can rename. If you do delete the folder, it will allow you to delete all of the contents within that folder. So if you have a group of content that's no longer valid, it makes it one easy place that you can delete it all at the same time. Before moving on to the next step, just want to talk a little bit about the organization of Command Point. You're going to see on almost every screen a very similar bar to what we see at the top of our media library. The primary action that you're going to take on any screen is generally going to be highlighted in green to let you know what the main function of the area that you're in. In this case, we're dealing with media, so this allows me to upload, create, or activate media within my library. Other functions such as moving the content between folders, copying that content between different folders if you want to have more than one instance of it, being able to delete an item, are all main functions. Dates and tagging is something we'll talk about in a more advanced video later. But for example, if I wanted to delete both of these items, I could highlight any number of items out of my list by simply checking the box, click delete. All of your standard Windows functions, such as holding down Shift to be able to highlight a block of items, that works as well anytime that you want to copy, move, or delete items. So once I've uploaded some content into my media library, the next step is I want to schedule that within playlists or zones of a layout. So let's talk about those two different things. The first one's going to be playlists. When you log in, you'll see that a default playlist already exists. In this case, there are no items within this playlist yet, and I can see that right here. Let's go ahead and start editing this playlist by clicking on its name over here on the left. And I'm going to see this is where I can start adding content into this, this collection of items. First thing I'm going to do, again, my primary function is highlighted in green. I can go ahead and slide out my Add Media panel. This is going to be the same content library that we were just working with on the Media tab. And I can largely do the same thing. So again, I can hold down Control to highlight multiple items. I can use Shift to highlight all of the items within a folder. But if this is the content that I want to run on my screen, once I have that, I simply drag and drop it into my playlist, and there we go. You've created your first playlist. In this case, it has 4 different items within it. I can click on any one of these items again and see the thumbnail preview over here. And from here, I can click on it to see a larger preview or to kick off a video playing if that was a video file. Again, all your same functions, such as being able to remove it from the playlist, move it to a different position, You can duplicate items if you want them to run more than one time in your playlist. So if I click the duplicate button, I can now see I have 2 different instances of this boat on water JPEG, and I can move them around simply by drag and drop. And so I can do that to any item. If I want to change the order in which they play, I can simply move them around. Now, there are a couple other functions that you can do here, but it's not required. If you simply want to drop in your content and move along to determining where you want that to play on your screen, we can do so, but I'm going to show you just a few of those functions right here. First of all, images, websites, things that don't have time built into them like a video, play for a default of 15 seconds. That's generally long enough for a message to be presented on the screen without it lingering there too long to where you might lose your audience attention. So we do, however, give you the capabilities to adjust that. You can either do it on an individual item by clicking on that item's name, and from here I can set a fixed duration, let's say maybe 10 seconds for this particular picture to be on the screen. Or I can do this to multiple items at the same time. So I can check the boxes, click edit, and same thing, I could come in here, maybe we'll set a 12-second duration on all of these items, and there we go. Again, as you saw, there are some other more advanced functions that we'll talk about in the next video that you can also do the items within the playlist, but this should give you what you need to get your first digital sign up and going. So once I've added my content to my library, put that content within a playlist, and adjusted it into the order and time which I want it to show on the screen, I'm going to hit the Save Changes button, and we'll move on to the next step, which is determining how you want that information to be presented on the screen. There is, again, going to be a default layout. That default layout is going to be set to fill up your entire screen. We can see right here 100% width, 100% height. So any content that you put within this layout is just simply going to fill your screen, and that is by far the most common way that content is presented within digital signage today. I can see right here that it's already linked to my default playlist. So there's really nothing else I have to do here. I could simply move on to the next step of publishing that content. But for today, I want to show you a couple other functions that you can do here. First of all, if you want to split your screen into different zones, you can do so. And we have several templates already set up that you can use. So if you go New Layout from Template, you're going to see that we have a lot of the common divisions at common resolutions that you might be working with already set up within here. Let's take a look at this 1920 by 1080, which is also called 1080p resolution screen, that splits it up into 3 zones. So if I click on this one, I can now see I have different areas where I can assign content to. Now I can do that in a couple different ways. You'll see I have select media listed over here in the layout itself. I also have it over here on the right-hand side where it's giving me some additional information about each one of these zones. So I can go ahead and click Select Media. We can choose either individual items or a playlist, but let's say in this main area, maybe I want that playlist that we just put together to run. So we'll go ahead and select that, and I can now see I have the default playlist assigned there. We can repeat that process. If we had created multiple playlists, we could assign different ones to each zone, or I can come in and I can assign just individual items to run within a zone as well. That might be something like an RSS ticker feed, might be something like a weather widget, or it could just be different playlists rotating in those different areas. Now, while you can start with any of the preset layouts, they are all completely customizable. I have the capability to resize any of these zones to any size and shape. We can set them to be in fixed aspect ratios. So, for example, if you're going to be using pretty standard 16:9 video content, you can go ahead and lock this zone into that aspect ratio to make sure everything looks nice and nothing is distorted. And then you can go ahead and start scaling out those zones to match your needs. Or you can put them into free transform mode, in which case it allows you to fill up any size. You'll see that it very nicely snaps to corners whenever it comes across a border of another zone. And you can also add zones to this. For example, if I click Add Zone, I get a new one that's layered right here at the top, and I can start resizing or moving this item around. One feature to keep in mind is we do support layering and transparency. So let's say you wanted to have your logo be a watermark effect on a digital sign. I might assign my logo to this zone, set it to be only 50% opaque, and let's size this down to be something that is just going to run in the bottom corner of my content. I can do this either by simply drag and drop, or I can actually start typing in specific values. So if I want that to be a perfect square, I can make it 280 by 280, and I can start choosing the exact position which I want it to be on the screen. Again, layouts is an area where you might want to spend a little time playing around with, getting familiar. There are lots of possibilities, and it really depends on the type of media that you might be running on your sign. But for today, I'm going to go ahead and cancel the work that we've done here, and we're going to focus on the default full screen content that is already assigned to your digital sign. So here, again, we'll confirm I have my default playlist assigned to my default layout. Next step is I can assign that layout to my players. In this case, you're starting off with just a single player that's linked to your company. Let's go ahead and link that to our default layout by hitting the Edit button. I can see right here, no layout is assigned. We're going to go ahead and browse. This will list any layouts that I've created. I'll go ahead and select the default one, click Select Layout, and Save Changes. One other function that you can do from the Signs tab that we're going to talk about today is how to set hours of operation. Hours of operation determines when your sign starts playing content and when your sign stops playing content. By default, it's going to be set to run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But you can edit these to match the hours of your store, your operation. For example, let's say we want our sign to come on at 8 in the morning, and maybe we're going to run through 8 p.m. in the evening. Now I can set this maybe same hours for every weekday, but maybe we're closed Saturdays and Sundays, in which case I want to go ahead and set the sign to be off all day for those days. So those are your three options: on all day, off all day, or you can schedule specific hours by day of week. And if I go ahead and hit Save Changes here, I'd be able to see those hours reflected right here, and I can collapse that view anytime I want to. We can also set custom hours of operation that override these standard hours for things such as holidays or special events that you might be doing. And again, it's pretty straightforward. All you have to do is hit the Edit button. We're going to add some custom hours to our sign. I can give it a name. Choose a particular date that this is going to take effect. Let's say perhaps normally we're closed on Saturday, but we're having a special event, and so from 8 a.m. to noon, we want the digital sign to be operating. This will override the standard schedule of being off on Saturdays, and instead it will run to this time block. So if I hit Save Changes, we can now see that I have that event scheduled. So just to recap, first step was we uploaded some content into the digital signage media library. We then took that content and placed it within a playlist. We took that playlist and assigned it to our default layout, which right now is set to run full screen. And then we linked that layout to our digital sign and set hours for when we want the digital sign to operate. The very last step in order to get your first sign up and running is to go to the Publish tab click on the name of your sign, and hit the Publish button. Clicking the Publish button is what's going to tell your digital sign that you've set up new content for it. It's then going to download it and start displaying it on the screen. Now, we do have one more function here. When you click Publish, you have the option to set this Publish to not be valid until sometime in the future. By default, if I hit Publish again, it's going to take place right now, and as soon as your sign checks in, it's going to start downloading that content. But in the future, maybe you're making updates on a Thursday afternoon and you don't want that content to take place until the next morning. Well, I could go ahead and specify a date and a time in the future for when I want this published to be valid. I'm not going to do that today. So again, we're just going to click on it. We're going to click Publish. We're going to click the Publish button again and say we want it to take place right now. And now, within 60 to 90 seconds, your sign will check in. It will see that there's new content available. It will start downloading it, and then you'll be up and running.